Right, not really feeling confident about this one. Just not really in the mood, but I'll just have to try and get in the flow of it and hope it comes off the top of my head because it was an important ceremony in many ways. But I'll just have to start from the beginning. It was a really good atmosphere because there was only me, Brandon, and Colin. Brandon's first time. A lovely guy from the States. We all get on really well. And he was well prepared. He's very clean, no trauma or anything. And he does a lot of just plant diets with his wife, which is really interesting because his wife works for the military in America and she actually works for SpaceX. And that was pretty cool. So it was nice to welcome him. And then Antonio came back. So that was nice to see him again. He had a good holiday. So it was him and Lady guarding, and then just Maestro. So Joshua didn't turn up. The Mexican couple didn't turn up again. I don't know. I don't bother talking to them about whatever anymore. You know, it's just if they don't want to do it because of whatever space they're in, that's their business. Obviously, a bit curious because they're here for 2 weeks, but they're not doing ayahuasca, and it's just well, okay, whatever. Anyway, so that's not really that important. But so we ended up having a wonderful ceremony because the atmosphere was just great. And it went really well for everybody. I had a little bit of a tougher time because of I had to go through a body testing. It turned out like as soon as I took the first cup, about after 45 minutes, big burst of anxiety in my stomach, right, and it continued right the way through till the end of the ceremony. And I was thinking, oh fuck, this is unpleasant. But it was handleable, training and everything. It's just, but there was a lesson to go with it. And so this is the most important thing, really, about this ceremony for me. Mama was showing me this technique. I suppose to help my meditation because I'm crap at it in normal meditative. So I've got my own one now, especially in conjunction with the spiritual fire. And even if it's only for a couple of minutes, it's just imagining my sitting in my fire. But she was kind of calling me as aspects of lessons on love and unity and this type of thing. And she was calling me. She said, when your body's like this, this is where trying to get you to the point where you just perfectly fine to separate, like you did with the Dr. Citos, but in a meditative sense, so you can come away from the body when it's uncomfortable. Because it's all about distraction. Like with anything in normal life, if you've got a headache or something, but instead of sitting, dwelling on it, or lying down, going, oh, fuck, I've got a headache, I mean, not always, it can be really bad, obviously, but if you can do something, then it takes your mind off it, to a degree. So it's the same kind of thing, but in ceremony. But this space, she was saying, just think of just coming into the pineal gland, bringing yourself inside your skull, into the center of your brain, and it's just this dark space. She said, come to me in here. I'm here. Come to me. And we'll fuse our energies. So both as two beings, we just become one in this pineal, infinitely small space, like down to the size of an atom. Really weird. And I managed to sort of get only once really where I just felt lost in it for just a very few seconds, where it was just dark and I had like no awareness of my body sort of thing and the pain in this stomach thing. And Maestro's Icaros were particularly strong as usual, but now they're tending to come in waves. There's like an overall stream of energy where you're just in it, and that's part of the cleaning. Because he'd said at the beginning of the ceremony to everybody, said tonight we're going to be doing cleaning for the physical and the spiritual to remove bad energy. So basically that's kind of what it was. And it was like just once the first few Icaros were done and it starts to build in intensity with these more and more energies that accumulate in the Maloka. And then you get through the initial physical periods, like there wasn't really many visions, but there was just like very faint fractal stuff during the first phase, like it usually is before the DMT really starts to make a connection with Mama. But you tend to have to go through your initial sort of body reaction to the ayahuasca, and then when you get over that, you're in a state of relative discomfort still, but it's not the same level of agitation where it's all new kind of stuff. You know, the immediate reactions of ayahuasca, your body has to sort of react to that and have its physical sort of the frightening kind of aspects of what you're just your body responding. But obviously now, because of my experience, I'm just so aware that doesn't affect me very much, because I'm just already I go into more of a spiritual kind of space first, where there's a separation to a degree. And also I was thinking that, like, when you got normal vision, and then when your eyes are closed and you're seeing these fractal patterns, I was thinking there is actually, it is a different sort of levels between the two. The images aren't those fractal images, which tend to produce the patterns of, like in the early days, like monstrous forms, like as if you're seeing dark energy representations. But it is distinctly different than an image that Mama Ayahuasca puts inside your head. So that was another kind, as if it's a different layer. It's not just your outside vision and your inner visions. There's a separation between the inner visions too. Like the fractal side of it almost represents the energies that are coming towards you in your being. And then there's the transcendental connection visions that Mama gives you when she's explaining things or teaching. So that was a bit different. But the fractal stuff wasn't particularly strong. But the energy, the spiritual energy wave, just this current of continuous flow that's coming through Maestro singing the Icaros, and then the odd occasional waves that just, I felt that, like between the temples. Oh, you know, sometimes it's like, oh, Mama, that was a bit. And Mum goes, yeah, unpleasant, isn't it? She said, but it was nothing more, handleable, because I had that lesson in the shamanic level stuff. That little insight a few ceremonies ago, everything was handleable. But the main thing was the nasty, not really nasty. I've had far worse in the early days, where it was like your real adrenaline, kind of what you associate with your real body, and it's still your real body. It's, but it was just consistent. And she said, "Yep, sorry, you're going to be suffering this one for the bulk of the ceremony, because you need to be reminded of it, of what you've left behind, so that when you go to Brazil, you cannot afford to even think about being tempted into a situation where if you go out for a drink with Robbo, or he's going out for a drink, or you cannot touch alcohol. You need to get this ingrained," she said, because you know what you went through in Mankara that nearly killed you then, when you broke the magic last time. She said, this time, at the level you're at now, the devil will be the devil, as he is for everybody. And the cost of that temptation, he's going to kill you, but in the most horrendous way you can possibly imagine. She said it's going to be 100 times worse than you went through in Mankara, and you will die. It's like, yeah, I get it. And then having that nausea, the anxiety, because I hadn't suffered that in real life since March. No fear and no anxiety since March, since she took it away finally at the end of the 10-month integration. And that was when she called me back, because that's when I realized, fuck, integration, ayahuasca still works. 10 months. I mean, I'd been through all the low stuff and the typical depression of being back in that world that I just don't belong in anymore. As the lesson that chapter is finished, there's nothing for you back there. You're never going back. And don't want to go back. Why would I? There's just nothing there. It's a shit old country, fucking Britain, same as every other Western country, all the brainwashing bollocks and political shit and fuck knows what. I don't want to, So Peru is at least an isolated haven compared to everywhere else in the world, because it's going to come late. The stuff that comes in the West is going to come late here, because the technological infrastructure isn't around to support it. But digital banking and all the rest of the shit's going to come eventually, of course it will. So she said, you're being put through this as a reminder as well of what you have become and what you don't suffer, but just so you don't fucking forget, because it's serious, and if you do forget, it's going to cost you your life if you make a mistake. So by all means, go to Brazil, enjoy your time, catch up with Robbo, because, and I know with what's coming next year, it's the last time I'll see him. So I'm happy that I'm going to go. And hi, Robert. I don't know if you know you watch these, so yeah. But realistically, I think we both know that the way things are going and the way the travel is going to clamp down in the future. And my path is here. I know I'll be coming back, and I really want to, because I'm having a wonderful experience now at this level. Really close with Maestro Jairo and Lenny, and they always really congratulate me. They know. I think they know more than well, Maestro obviously does, but he's told Lenny and some of the locals I think they've got a lot of respect for me. Lady said this morning, "How are you?" The usual. And she said, I said, "Yeah, it was a tough. I said because she saw me when I went into the ceremony. Everyone else is, Colin and Brandon are out of it. They're good to walk." I said, "All right, I'll have to borrow your arm again." I'm tripping my fucking balls off because again, it came late. I mean, I still had the effect of the first drink, not too strong enough to see those little kind of fractals coming up and get that anxiety thing. And then I thought, right, well, I'm going to go deeper because I want to be really, I know what's going to happen because it was late. It was late coming on the first cup. So I was only just coming up on the end of the first cup after 2 hours when it was time for the second one. And I got quite another half. Maestro gives me a half cup for the second one, but I also know what's going to happen to me, which is it's going to just be a particular level of discomfort, but it'll just last longer. And there's no point because you want to get some sleep. You're going to get your cleaning. So again, I just probably had half of what was in the cup, just thinking I don't want to go because it's going to be so late for me. And by the end of the ceremony, yeah, fucking big grin on my face. There was a lot to smile about last night. Maestro, after the bells, they were a bit similar to last time. There was a discomfort element for the first half again, right, turning on my side, and then all the gas and everything is moving, and the liquid that's in your stomach is coming from wherever. I think Helena's theory that it gets sucked out of your main body with the dark energy and comes into your stomach so that you've got the stuff to vomit, although I didn't have anything to vomit last night. But yeah, so because that's what I was going to show you, because obviously when it sucks the water out, you can see like the sagginess of the skin where you lose the weight and your skin goes kind of wrinkly, like saggy, like that, because it's just empty compared to what it was. You've got less fluid in your system, but you don't feel dehydrated now because obviously I've been eating and drinking during the day. But I was really thirsty last night, so I had about 3-4 cups of water, and as soon as I got back to the room, I drank 2 cups because I just didn't feel like actually sick to vomit, but I could feel the discomfort in my stomach, and so you always have to. And it was really hard to put my fingers down the throat, and I only got not too much out, but enough to see that bile. Like Mum would go, "Yeah, that's it. Come on, you got one more. There's still shit stuck in there." It's like, "Yeah, I know. Oh, I keep trying. Come out, you fucker." And it's just like eventually, final bit. It's like, "Yeah, I can't do any more. That's it." Yeah. It's like I didn't want to go for a crap yet. And again, that was the same now. That's getting to be like 2 hours later. And it's like, you got to go now. And that happened twice. And then a lot less discomfort in the stomach as all that dark, what ayahuasca's found and trapped in your gut and then pushed through. And then it was Tripsville. I mean, me and Colin had a laugh on the way back, usual, me wobbling around all over the place. And he knocked a couple of things over in his room and I was laughing, so because we can hear each other. And I, at one point, I was like huffing and puffing. I just said outright, it's like half an hour or two back here. It's like, fuck, man, I'm still tripping my fucking balls off in here, and he's laughing. So it's quite good. But yeah, it was a sort of a physical discomfort thing. I just had to keep coming back out of it with this technique that Mama had shown me, of getting into that little point space inside your head, and sort of, getting through it, really, just to like escapism. And then what else was interesting was in the visions, because a lot of it was about love and becoming one with Mama in that sense. But then because of the visions and trying to get me when I was getting stuck or getting a bit overwhelmed with some of these energy waves, and she's going, come back to me, come, just get your head, take control of your head space, come away from the, you get and pull back to the body because it's uncomfortable, come away from it, mind control kind of thing. And then she always says, if you need to get someone to help you, think of your past girlfriend or something that you can hug. So it's like Raquel in Brazil or someone, but she actually produced like this wow, it's a big whatever's flapping around there, big moth or whatever. And this knit, beautiful dark-haired, semi goddessy type, scantily clad figure, perfect body, but elven, beautiful, big kind of elf type eyes, like a very just beautiful. And it was very sensual, a lot of this stuff. And she made me go back to my teens with girlfriends I'd had since the age of 16 to 19, and the different characters, and then having an opportunity to be with them again, quite physically. So, but then being able to say things that I couldn't say when I was that age because I was too shy, or just inexperienced in talking to women, and the bitterness and rejection aspects that I was starting to feel because of the trauma and being put down, all this stuff. But the lesson was about, Steve, look at some of the girlfriends that you had, or the girls that you liked, that liked you. What did they see in you that they liked, that you have never been able to see in yourself? It's just, here we go again, this self-interrogation. I don't feel comfortable. And then so you're thinking about everything that I've achieved now, and she said, this is how a lot of other people see you, inside, what your character, your gentleness, your strength when needed, your warmth, your just general demeanor. Especially now, you're very calm. You're always happy with people, and in this environment, obviously, it's easy to be like that with these people because they're all lovely, and it's all reciprocal. So he said, you've really got to start being able to accept love from other people. It's by seeing yourself, look in the mirror and just see your character that people like about you. See it for yourself. It goes back to that whole thing, how can you love others, or how can you, until you can love yourself, sort of thing. Forget the physical aspects of it, what people look like, what you look like now at your age, thinking, oh, you look like fucking Shrek and all this sort of shit. You've got to start seeing, because it's an important part. It was kind of squashed out of you through your life because of your stepfather and the way he treated you. And that's, so you've been closeted in that respect to be able to see it in yourself. So that was really interesting, going through sort of seeing those girls again that I really liked, and then either didn't quite have relationships because of things that happened with them, but really liked them and didn't make them mine because either they were stolen by someone else, like Liz Richards, and just reiterating that you had some nice looking girls around you when you were a teenager. So what does that say about you? What did they see in you? And he's saying about from the female perspective, she said, even, all right, hormonal teenagers, women being what they are as the crucible of life, they're still very careful about who they allow into their physical space. So what was it that they allowed you in, to be intimate with them? It's not just about physical looks. So, yeah, you were a kind of cute lad when you were young, but with women, that's not, as you know, that's not the deciding factor like it is with men. Men are very visual, and they go on what women look like primarily. As first choice, women are different slightly because of their ability to produce life, so they need aspects of security and stuff like that. So it was just, really nice to have these kind of, even though they're just images and they're imaginary, but it was the content, the conversations that I had with some of the girls to say in retrospect, what I wanted to say to them when I was only 16, 17, 18, to the ones I really liked. And then obviously Louise wasn't included in that because she's a special case. And this was also interesting because she's been a recurring theme on a few occasions. Obviously, I was with her for 8-9 years. First ever proper relationship where you effectively married, got a flat together, that kind of thing. And then and this whole idea, she's saying to me, what happened? And I'm like, I don't know. Because I don't remember nearly all of the 8 years that I had with Louise. I don't remember most of it at all. And there's a lot of, it was a long time ago now. It's 30, nearly 40 years. It started in 84 when I met her, for the next 8 years till 92, end of 92, when I flew out to Germany to finish it. So it's like, we'll deal with Louisa in the future, because I watched a video the other day of us on holiday in Crete and something that happened when we'd both been drinking. And I said something, just a sort of passing joke, and she was just looking at me like deadpan. So it was kind of like, the relationship was over at that point, really. That was our last holiday in that summer. And then by October I'd met Kay and flew out to Germany. And then of course she'd had an affair, it turned out, at more or less the same time. So we both must have known that it just wasn't working, whether the tone of phone calls or whatever, I don't remember, but we must have known that it was kind of fizzling out. But the strange part is future analysis. I expect to see it again, because that video has cropped up a couple of times in ceremonies, looking at the facial expression, Mama going, look at it, what is going on there that you've either buried? So I don't know what the purpose of that introspection is going to be. And of course, I was starting to fall down the escapism with the alcohol and the pot. Really started to come on in the 90s. Started as I came up to 30 years old. And then it was really downhill from there. And then even like to just self-destruction and bitterness. And then after a couple of bad relationships in that situation, a very negative view of women, the disloyalty aspect, and consequently my treatment of women in Brazil. All right, no, that's just, it wasn't, it was their choice. I'm in a bar drinking, and women who are in bars drinking, they've got a financial aspect that, they want, they want their own things too. And you're a gringo, and, so it wasn't like, anyone's forced, but it's what the driving at is the attitude where I just looked at women as objects, and I didn't give a fuck about anything or anybody, especially me, because I was on a complete self-destruct path with the depressions and everything else. And then, so very much that. So I don't know what the lesson's supposed to be, but I've thought about it many times before ayahuasca, why I don't remember. How can you remember virtually nothing? And if it wasn't for having videos and photographs, I'm wondering if I'd remember anything of that period of my life. With someone who I was so in love with, and she was with me. It's like, how is that possible? So exactly. So it's, I think it's a valid question for Mama to raise. Like, what happened? It's a black hole of memory space. Partly due to excess drinking. But even, most of our relationship wasn't drinking. We drink at weekends. We go out and socialize like normal people do. I had a job to hold down. I was, through the week. Wasn't drinking through the week in the early days. Only toward the end when I hated my job and just a change of life at that age that it kind of got out of control. But for the bulk of it, we had a mortgage and she had a career and I was supporting it. We had a great relationship. So it's really odd that I don't remember most of it, nearly all of it. So that's probably why she's still digging around in the Jungian dark side to find what's in there that might still be causing some issues. But generally, I'm feeling so good really lately. And just my ability, knowing, like she kept saying, look what you've become, especially after that last gift with the fire and the whole journey of accomplishing what I've accomplished. And to a degree, like as if it was almost destiny. That's that, bitterness I used to have about having my life stolen from me for what I could have been when I compare myself to other friends of my own age that have got one or two houses or, big, massive properties, and they've got security because they've got financial security and a pension and all that. But she said it doesn't matter. And I kind of know that it's all going to be, because it's going to be taken away from everybody anyway in the next few years if this whole globalist agenda continues, and they just continue to ramping it up. And even if you've got a lot of money, once they go to digital currency, you won't be able to spend it on what you want, as I've said before. So everyone's going to end up with fuck all if they get their way. So all that matters is the remaining time of my journey. Break in Brazil. Break from here too. It's nearly, it's my last one. It's 3 months of continuous plant medicines, both dietas and ayahuasca for 3 months in 2-week blocks. It's a lot, but now my ability to just deal with it and handle it. But obviously aware that they can just ramp up the level anytime they like. I've been through that before. They can reduce you to, when they turn the gas up, and put the heat on full, or even probably just a fraction of what they're capable of, the spirits and Mama Ayahuasca, if they want to really clean you and take you apart, man, you're just nothing in the scheme of things compared to the power they wield in an ayahuasca ceremony if they want to. I've had plenty of tastes of that. I know what they can do. So you never get blasé about ayahuasca, because that's when they'll kick you down, and that's happened to Ivan. For getting I'm going to go deeper, I want to go deeper, and she doesn't like ego at all. And I think Josh has been through some of that too. So far, I haven't fallen foul of that, because I am aware, and I'm not egotistical in that respect. I know their power, and I know my limitations. But your limitations are pushed, and you get better and better at being able to handle what they can throw at you. So I actually enjoy it now. And it's kind of a warped way. Like I said before, there's a masochistic part, but it's also a confidence part that comes with Mama saying, "Look what you've become. Look what you can handle compared to your journey where you were when you started, especially this second level." And Maestro is always great. It's always like he's got this knowing smile, and he's always pleased to see me, and it's just lovely to see him the next morning and pat him on the shoulder or have a little chat with a smile. So I've got a great relationship with him, and I love working with him. He is a fantastic shaman. He's wonderful, really is, and powerful. And then again, a little change last night. That was new, and that Icaro was absolutely beautiful. It's like, wow. Me and Colin were just joking about it, like the B-side. Oh, the extended play, because obviously we've heard in the last I've heard in the last 3 months, 2.5 months, basically what seems to be his repertoire. The effects are different. It doesn't matter, the Icaros are an Icaro in that respect, but the effects are different. But this was actually very different because it was a completely different Icaro, and it was different mood, and just a really nice song. This beautiful melancholy, but it didn't feel melancholy. There was no sadness feeling wise, but it was a sad Icaro, just really slow, completely beautiful. And did I just rip this fucking memory under the influence? Did I just explain that? That it was a prayer to San Antonio? Yeah, I did, didn't I? So it was beautiful. And the bells, again, yeah, they had that cleaning side to it. I mentioned it to Colin to see. He said, yeah, there's kind of like, some of the tones this time were a bit, like you're feeling the effect of it on the dark energy that they don't like, that this pure spiritual tones. And then change position, and then get sounds that do start to feel relaxing. So basically, I think that's pretty much covered it. The rest of it was just tripping my balls off back in the room and lying down on the bed and occasionally getting up for water, and obviously the toilet business, brushing your teeth. I had my apple, which was nice. And then, but Mama said to me, because it was kind of strong, well, not as strong as I've had here on the long trips, but because it had that hangover element of the nausea that had made my stomach sort of uncomfortable. When I got back, Mama said to me, "No rapé tonight. It'll just make you feel worse." I knew. It's just like, because sometimes when you can't sleep, and then the medicine is wearing off, but your brain can't. It's too active, but you're not. You're starting to come down, but you're not. You're still awake, and you can't sleep. Rapé is kind of useful for that. It just kind of changes. It just kicks you down a little bit so that you feel a bit almost groggy-ish, or not groggy, but yeah, well, kind of. I don't know. It's difficult to explain all these feelings. It's just, there's no frame of reference for them unless you're on the medicine. So, but rapé's good. But last night I just didn't. It would have made me feel just worse, and I still would have had to go through. She said, "There's this strong cleaning for you, son. Spiritual cleaning, strong, just continuous. Sorry, it's going to be as long as it takes, which is like fucking 3 to 4 hours after the ceremony finishes at 12. So, and we had a nice little chat after the ceremony. We all sat up. Everyone could sit up, but my vision was like, oh yeah, tripping, big time. Not as much as I have done. Like some of the times when, like that one where Antonio brought me back and I couldn't see, man. I was just, and then that was when I ended up in the wrong room and didn't even know I was in the wrong room. I was that fucking tripped. Nothing made sense with that one. Everything was all over the shop. But this one was okay. I had and me and Colin looked out. I looked up at the stars and said, "Come on, wow!" I said, "Look, have you seen this?" And he looked. He was like, "Wow, man, fuck the clear." We had a beautiful clear night through the Peruvian jungle air, and just like all the stars were out. It was beautiful. Well, only could see bits of it because of the trees, but what we could see was beautiful starlit sky. It's like wow. And Brandon was nice. He came in behind me and saying, "How are you?" And he said, "Yeah, man, it was really good." He got a lot out of his ceremony. He's written 12 pages in his journal today, so there's a lot of detail in that. So, and he said to me, we're giving each other hugs, sort of thing, me and Colin, and then gave him a hug when he came back, and he said, "Thanks, Steve." He said your tips really helped. He said in ceremony, so thank you very much for that. It's my pleasure. Glad to be able to be in a position to offer it. I'm glad it worked for you. So I'm really looking forward to tomorrow. Don't know who's going to come, but at least us three will be there again, no matter what. Even if Pam and Carlos don't go, or Josh. Josh seems to have been very busy this week. I haven't really seen him much, and we haven't spoken very much. Just said hello. That's it. So for whatever his personal reasons why he didn't do the ceremony last night, I don't know. But I'm glad it worked out really well, because Joshua can have some powerful energies in the ceremony, and I feel them. Only when he vomited, mind, because that's like, oh, that was another one. That was interesting. Colin vomited pretty heavily, a really good clean. Brandon only once, which was just right. They treated him really nicely in the ceremony. He had a really good ceremony. He loved it. But like he said out to me this breakfast this morning. He said, "Yeah, you're right." He said, "How can you explain it?" He said, "It completely rocked my universe last night of just, as an experience." I said, "Yeah, nothing like ayahuasca. No other situation." And he said, "Oh, that was it. I was going to say about Colin. When he had this vomit, it was quite a strong one, and in my vision, it was like I was again putting not the fire, but I turned the fire on as well. I was like thinking, oh, don't want that fucking near me. That sounded pretty, you don't know what's coming out in the dark energy. And you think, well, I mean, Maestro's controlling it all, but just for the sake of the vision and what you're supposed to do for playing with the fire and the protection, and I just had this vision of this like kind of 1.5 foot long gremlin type thing with bat wings, a tail, long tail. It was flying up towards the roof of the Maloka. And I kind of, in my vision, I just kind of came up behind it and grabbed it by the scruff of the neck, like in this, the mode of what I've become in this, like, I didn't want to destroy it. But I've had lessons on when it's dark energy, it's war. There's no feelings. They don't have any. They're just parasites, and they're just pure evil. You destroy them, with this power. But this one I didn't. I just managed to sort of flew. I kind of flew up quickly behind it and grabbed hold of it by the back of the neck, and actually kind of spiritually put it through the Maloka, and like threw it out. And that's when I got this. No, destroy it next time. Don't even be nice. But it's this little bat gremlin thing. So that was quite funny. But so that's pretty much it, really. So it's 40 minutes long enough.